Hi, this is Daryl. This is part of my presentation for my Permaculture Design Project. I'm looking at a 4-acre plot that I would love to purchase, but doesn't look like it's going to happen right away. It's mainly on an old homestead from a house built in the 1890s. It is kind of an overrun, overused back pasture, and here are some of the things about the site. It is relatively flat with a slight slope to the southwest, approximately 10 feet over the course of from the diagonal from the upper corner to the lower corner. During the winter, there is a cold wind from the north that we will want to block. There is a dusty road along the side, as well as noise from a school off to the side. There is a busier road in front that has quite a bit of traffic, and then you can see the sun angles. It actually has quite good sun aspect to it. There's a close neighbor to the other side, which is a view that probably wants to be blocked. There are a few fruit trees, mainly kind of plums, currently growing. Further information on the site, it's at latitude 44.5. Elevation is about 700 feet. It's approximately 100 miles from the Pacific Ocean. We get great rainfall here, 50 plus inches overall. Most of it happens November through January. July and August we get less than 1 inch. June through September, less than 2 inches per month. The average temperature is quite mild. Summer averages 80 degrees, although there are times when 105 degree days do occur. Wintertime averages 34 degrees with 15 to 20 degree lows on some winters. There is 2 wells on the property to produce water, one close by the house and then one out by what used to be a pasture, as well as natural water. The rainfall there is a pasture and a house above, which we would get some water rain off. From looking at the road, most of the rain-off is set to run down on the gullies on each side of the road. Part 2 will be next. The next thing that we will look at will be water catchment. The catchment above is there are 2.5 acre home sites with small hobby farms on them. Just to the north, and there will be some water seeping off of there. Most of the water is designed to run down on each side of the road here. Our first order of business will be to try to capture some of that. We will design a swale to divert some of the water off of that overflow into a swale that follows the contour. I've roughly mapped out the contours here at the high point is 705 feet, then at 700 feet we get one that goes almost the whole length, then it's relatively flat, and then we have one other contour at 695 feet on the far end of the building. So our first water catchment would be from the overflow and building somewhat of a turkey dam style pond with the swale with overflow at the top with the sill plate kind of dropping down into the longest and largest part of the swale that will go down the complete property and soak in from there to some very crucial points there. On the other side of the house, besides that contour line, there will be runoff from the hard surfaces, and we will have a swale at that edge of the property as well. The next aspect we'll look at is Zone 0, basically the house. There is an older homestead style house, but some of the major changes we would make to make it more efficient would be along the front to we would plant some deciduous trees that would block some of the summertime sun but would let the winter sun in. Also along the front we would add a kind of a greenhouse sunroom on two spots outside of the porch, which is covered and remains fairly cool with airflow during the evening during the summers. The sunrooms would be approximately 50% of the front, which coincides with we're about the 45th parallel, so that would fit close with 45% being in the sunrooms. On the back side, there's currently a patio, which we would convert to a trellised top and have grapes and other vining kiwis growing up over top to provide shade during the summer and would then be pruned back to allow improved sun during the winter time. We would implement rain catchment off of the structure itself into the large cisterns in the back of the house, and then also one on the side to catch water there. We would also implement a gray water system. Currently the septic field is out in this area, we would take the gray water, not the black water that's going there, and run it through a sandy reed type bed to help filter and clean it, that then could be used elsewhere in the garden in the front area. Our Zone 1 area is the area immediately around the house. The deciduous trees would be planned to be fruit trees. Apples are a favorite of myself and the family and grow well here, as well as apricots, plums, and some peaches. There will be some raised garden beds along the side, along the contour, allowing water in that second swale here to seep down into the garden area. Also, there will be herbs along the southwest area, which gets great afternoon sun until the trees along the side will block that. In the back area, there will also be some garden beds which will be visited daily and need to be close in. The border between Zone 2 is in this area. We're planning to have chickens, ducks, geese, some of the small animals to help being free-ranged through the paddocks in that area, as well as some smaller goats in the barn area, possibly a dairy cow, and a steer for meat being raised. So that's into the Zone 2. As we continue out into our Zone 2 area, we have a small area for the animals. The chickens will primarily be able to free range and controlled at times into the Zone 1 area. Then we have a Zone 2 garden for much more of the larger production primarily for the family, including larger crops with corn and beans, things that we like to eat. If we go into Zone 3, free-ranged through the paddocks in that area, as well as some smaller goats in the barn area, possibly a dairy cow, and a steer for meat being raised. So that's into the Zone 2. As we continue out into our Zone 2 area, we have a small area for the animals. The chickens will primarily be able to free range and controlled at times into the Zone 1 area. And then we have a Zone 2 garden for much more of the larger production for primarily for the family, including larger crops with corn and beans, things that we like to eat. If we go into Zone 3, in the Zone 3 as well as in the Zone 2 and all the zones, since swales are primarily a tree growing opportunity, including down along the water catchment swale, trees will be planted along the border to block the view from the neighbor, as well as provide fruit for the family along the dusty road, and also blocking the noise from the school. We will have trees planted along the perimeter as well as across the top. These will be some fruit trees, but also trees to be coppiced for wood fuel, as well as some longer lasting trees for such as oaks and hazelnuts grow great in this area. Along the swales, as mentioned, with the paddocks, forming paddocks, we'll have fruit trees on that swale, as with fencing to keep the larger animals from compacting the swale, as well as on this side to keep them from overgrazing and destroying the trees. So we will have 3 paddocks to allow rotational grazing, but they could also be, depending on the animals, could be divided into 6 paddocks to with electrical or portable fencing to allow them to not overgraze and compact the area. The area, other than ducks or geese going into the pond area, this corner up here could be the closest that we would have to a Zone 5 being planted and left to itself. To create a good habitat for animals, insects, and other hopefully more beneficial than detrimental species of the insects and animals. Along the areas of the swale on both sides will have been planted with faster growing legumes, where we can practice chop and drop, as well as the manures from the animals that will collect in the paddocks, will drain into the swales and provide further fertilization for the area. Other manures from the barn area and the chicken coop. They will be able to be easily shoveled or swept out into a composting area just off of the chicken coop, as well as at the end of the barn. That compost will, after it is ready, will be used to more intensively compost the areas in zone 2 and zone 1 to provide further fertility in the soil, to help the system continue to improve from the somewhat degraded state that it is currently in.